welcome to the Boar's coverage of the 2026 SU Spring Officer elections, where we're
Thank
offering all the candidates for full-time officer positions an interview with our team ahead of Big Decision Night.
you. Hmm.
I'm Tilly Dickinson, Deputy Sub-Editor at the Boar, and I'm interviewing Diya Gupta, who is running for the position of Welfare and Campaigns in the upcoming elections. Welcome,
Yes.
Diya.
Thank you.
So the first question I have for you is,
Hmm.
why did you decide to run for this position?
I believe it was a very spontaneous decision. Like everyone was getting mails about the SU elections, even I was, and then one day I saw that I read through them and I was like, what's the worst that can happen? I should just apply. So I read through the different positions they offered and I think welfare was what spoke out to me the most. So I went for that.
Okay, great, thank you. And second question, how will you seek to continue to improve mental health and well-being provision on campus this year?
All right, for mental health, mainly, I think one thing that many students use here is Nightline, which is a wonderful service in my opinion. And also, there's something I faced once that I think because Nightline is not available every day of the week as well, which is fair enough because students are the ones who are running it in the end of the day. But like I've heard from other people also at times when they contacted the service, like because in the end of the day, no one will check the Instagram last minute to check, oh my God, are they available at like 2 a.m. of the night? So when they've called and many times it was just come like, oh, we're not running today, so I think that was something that brought a lot of students' morale down. That's something I've heard from quite a few of my friends. So I believe that that's one area that we can really improve on. Maybe recruit more people, and then in the end of the day, because I think Nightline runs two recruitments per year. So I believe that's something we can increase on. And another thing, I believe therapy pets. This is something I mentioned in my manifesto as well, mainly because I think not just everyone's a dog lover, people prefer cats and other animals as well. But mainly those two are the most common ones, and we already call on therapy dogs on campus often. I believe we can do that much more often, and maybe we can even make it department wise.
Yeah, great,
So
thank you. That all sounds very good.
thank you.
So my next question would be, so report and support disclosures rose for the fourth consecutive year in 2024 and 2025. Are you concerned about these figures, these rises, and what more do you think the SU can do to support students?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, no worries. So report and support disclosures,
Hmm.
they rose for the fourth time this year, of
Yes.
the past academic year. Does this worry you? And what do you think yes you could be doing to help students here?
I believe in one way it's good in fact as well. That means like students trust the resources the campus has offered them. So if more students are reporting it, that means they feel trusted enough, they feel comfortable enough to report issues on campus, they believe that something will be done for them. So in that way, in one side, I think this is in fact good that the numbers have risen. But at the same time, it reports more issues showing that there are things happening on campus. So for that, I believe one thing is that very often is when there's issue, even if it happens in like on campus accommodation in flat, oftentimes if someone goes complain, one of the most common takes is done is like hosting a meeting for the entire flat. But if like the person has issue with a certain person, just one person, in fact, I believe this is something that is not that effective. When like I understand the whole motive is to get everyone's perspective. However, at times like the one who has reported can feel overwhelmed in the setting where everyone is there being questioned. So one-on-one takes in this are very much better in my opinion, I would say.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's another great answer. So my next question is about the cost of living,
Hmm.
which is a crisis that is still affecting students on campus.
Yes. Hmm.
Even though we've got the new co-op that's replaced routes, like we haven't seen prices
Hmm.
dramatically fall for students.
Yes.
So across these SU outlets, and then also with the SU's relationship to the university,
Hmm.
what more would you want to do to support students through the cost of living crisis?
I believe cost of living is something that honestly is not in my hands personally. Even if I try to vouch for it, it's not something that realistically I can just like bring up change about in just like a week just by talking to others immediately. However, yes, I agree it is a big concern for people on campus. It was a concern for my family as well. Mostly because like how varied it is. Like even and people cannot select their accommodations from their own. They can only give a preference. That's another thing that I think worries a lot of students because they don't know which one they'll get. I feel like one more thing is that different accommodations based on the prices, even the living conditions are very different. I'm not saying any one of them is bad, but necessarily if you begin to compare, okay, Bluebell and like Roots is a very far comparison because totally different ends of the spectrum when it comes to cost. But even if you compare something like Sherborne and Tossel, for example, they're also very different. So I believe one thing is that how much they vary, especially when you consider all the ensuite accommodations. So like Cryfield townhouses and then Bluebell are, they both are very good, but they have main differences between them are just their buildings and the infrastructure. So I believe that is one thing. So personally, what I would do is, if I could bring about the change, would be to maybe decline the way they put to add your preferences on the website when you pick accommodations, and rather than if students could like give their top choice immediately, like okay, I want this one. Obviously that's not something it'll be done for everyone, and I know they take the preferences into account, but most of the time it does not work out that way, because I know many people who haven't gotten their first choice or second choice. Most of them ended up with the last choices as well.
Yeah, thank you for that very detailed answer. And then my last question is your obviously welfare and campaigns. So
Hmm.
what campaigns would you seek to run over the next year?
Okay, so honestly, for campaigns on its own, I have mainly decided that I personally don't want to get political in this, so I will not go towards that when I answer this question. But if you ask just campaigns in general, I believe my main focus more on the well-being part, honestly. But if you ask for campaigns, I think one thing is that because at university, one thing which I really personally like is that everyone is allowed to do it. We can like submit it on the SU website that, oh, this is what I want to campaign about. And as soon as it's approved, they can go for like, and it's something that's very peaceful in my opinion. It's very orderly as well, rather than just being very much of a hustle, bustle, and all that. But for campaigns, I think if someone asks me personally, I believe mental health is something I definitely want to take into account. And I think another thing what I would take is like how to get into adulting properly, because everyone's like they turn 18 and they immediately in university. And here suddenly you have to cook your own, you have to clean yourself, you have to live on your own, you need to manage your budget, you need to manage your studies, going out, everything just happens all at once. So I believe for many people that gets really overwhelming. Oftentimes they do not pay attention to what they're eating as well. Mainly that's a big issue, I believe. So food drives or anything like that, how to properly adult someone, one thing I think many people need.
Yeah, it's definitely a big jump coming to university. I remember some interesting experiments with cooking chicken in our flat in first year. Um, that's all my questions for today. Thank you very much for answering them, and I wish you the best of luck in the upcoming elections.
Thank you.